Hello everyone, Editing Skyler here, once again having to pop in before we get into today's episode to explain some things. So, when we were recording this episode, my internet that day was not working very well, and the result meant that there were moments throughout the recording that I kind of got kicked entirely or lost parts of what Jens and Riley were saying in the video call. So there were moments in the recording that I just lose things, sometimes very important things. For the most part, I feel like I've been able to kind of edit things and move things around to create a cohesive storyline, despite missing some parts. But there are moments where I missed out on some very important bits of information, and past Skyler, the one who was present for the recording, didn't do a very good job of catching those moments and calling for a repeat. So there are moments that are just completely lost into the ether that is the past. But because they're so important, I still need a way to share that with you all. And so there's going to be moments in today's episode where me, the illustrious editor Skyler, is going to pop in and give a little bit of a summary over what I pretty sure happened in those moments, so that you guys are kept up to date. And with that out of the way, I will leave it to intro Skyler to kick off today's episode. Oh, hello friend. Come, join us by the fire. The story's about to begin.
Welcome back to Fireside Dice. So this time, a little bit of an interesting episode. Our last two have been only two of the players. We're continuing with that trend. I know that it's been a long while since we had the full team together. However, hopefully we can rectify that this time as we continue with Erasmus and Suri and see how are they going to get back. We left off with Jace Bellerin walking off away from you two. Mm-hmm. On the northern side of Mauer Lake.
As soon as he's out of sight, I'll like drop my bow and I'll just be like visibly exhausted. But I was trying to put up a front the whole time he was there. Oh my gosh. Oh boy.
Are you quite all right? It's hard for me to remember exactly what just conspired.
I've certainly been better. I'm sorry, do you know where the rest of your group is? There's supposed to be three of you.
How exactly... How did you know that?
It's a very good question. We'll see if you can earn that information. In the meantime, I think we need to get out of these woods.
Suri looks him up and down, and I think neither of us are in much shape to continue. We need to find somewhere safe, and Innistrad's no safe place.
That is true. Can I do a perception check just to see if there's anything I should be worried about around us?
Yeah, go ahead.
You have betrayed me, dice. That's a 6. I am in much pain.
Nothing appears to be an item of concern.
Okay. All right. Can I tell, like, I know it's lighting in this part of Innistrad is weird. Do I have any sort of inclination as to like what time of day it might be?
That would be either a nature or survival, as I completely slur those words together.
That's a synthetic 20 nature.
So, based off of your time in Ravnica, there are certain areas outside of the 10th district that have similar levels of, well, I want to say pollutants, because that's what it would be on Ravnica. Mm-hmm. It's you know that it's different here, but it definitely has a similar sense of, oh, the sky is full of stuff. And so being able to tell the time for you can tell that it's mid to late morning.
Okay. All right. I think we can probably afford a short break. Give it an hour. Kind of regather ourselves and head out. Try and find the rest of your group.
That sounds good enough to me. What is your name?
You can call me Duster.
Well, Duster, I'm Suri.
Deception insight on that.
Yeah, yeah, actually.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, roll insight. Erasmus, I want you to roll deception.
Good luck. This is one of my best skills.
Oh, it's not so much deception. I mean, you're just giving a false name. A pen name, something like that, a pseudonym.
Okay.
Is this insight or?
This would be insight.
Okay. I wasn't sure how to say it.
So, what are your guys' totals?
I got a 22.
No, I would have to roll a 20 to get that. I got an 18 with my bonus.
Suri, considering what you've just been through, the fact that this person is calling themselves Duster, not super important. I mean,
true. I did
it's
just
whatever.
I did just get kind of possessed a little bit.
Just a little.
Just a little.
Yeah.
So, resting for about an hour, it's a little bit tense because there's not a lot of conversation, and the silence is not companionable. There's a lack of trust between the two of you, it seems. But an hour passes, keeping an eye on the sky. It's marginally brighter, and based off of what Jay Spellerin said, if you go south to the lake and then follow the coastline a little bit to the east, you'll be able to get down to a relatively large town, at least for this area. So, short rest taken. It seems like the two of you are going to travel together, at least for a little bit.
Yep. As soon as like the hour is passed, like on the mark, as soon as the hour is passed, Erasmus is gonna stand up, kind of like brush himself off, and be like, "Okay, Suri, let's go."
Suri will be kind of jolted as he says that, and because she was looking at her book at the time, her father's book, and she'll just put it in her bag and get up and say, "Do you know which way we need to go?"
I believe based on that gentleman's directions, we need to head this way.
All right.
I'm gonna start heading the direction that Jace told us to go.
And Suri just rubs her head, still kind of reeling from the headache.
Traveling south, this is a pretty dense bit of wood. And you're not like cutting through underbrush or anything. It's not quite that bad. There's patches of briar, and travel is a little bit slow going. Eventually you come out of the woods and you find yourself on the coast of a decently sized lake. And the coast wraps around to the east side, curves, and you can see on the other side of this lake there is a town.
Looks like that's where we're going.
Does Suri recognize this town?
My question is, so my understanding of Suri is that she's not from the Outland Valleys, but she's kind of from more of the Midland region of Stensia. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I think that's right. If I'm looking at that map, yeah.
So I need you to roll a history check in that case.
16?
16? So Suri would know that the Outland Valleys, there are kind of 3 communities that are in this area. If you were to guess correctly, the one that you were looking at is called Lamas, and it's the larger of the 2 main villages here. The third town is almost more like the housing and, well, it is a town. Kresk is very well known for its sanatorium, an insane asylum, basically.
Oh.
But you would guess that you're looking at Lamas, which is kind of the main center for this town. You would also know that the town of Shadowgrange, which the audience may be aware is where our B squad went. Bartholomew and Bafuur ended up in Shadowgrange, and that's to the east of Lamas, and Kresk is to the west, following the old somber walled road.
All right, so I, assuming that Erasmus is probably 10 to 15 feet ahead, Suri says, I think this town we're coming up on is called Lamas.
You seem to know quite a lot about this place.
Information travels around. I used to have a friend that grew up around this area, but long gone now.
Ah.
Which is kind of interesting as Suri, you start thinking back to your old friends growing up, one of whom became a Cathar in the church, and the other friend ended up going to the Outland Valleys looking for vampires and never came back.
And thinking about that, Suri kind of gets a little bit of a shiver and looks around. Says, "We should get to the towns as fast as possible."
Well, seeing as how you seem to be from around here, I will defer to your judgment. Which way should we go?
Do we see the town? Or...
You can see the town. It's probably just a few hours away. If you wanted to cross the water, it might be shorter, but not by too much. So, can continue walking along the coastline, or do you want to go back up into the trees? There's also the option to go into the west if you like.
I think we should probably continue along the coastline if we're trying to be as safe as possible.
All right. And this time, rather than walking ahead of the group, Erasmus is going to fall, not like in line with Suri, but like maybe a step or two behind her, following her, but staying close.
All right. So, continuing on, going along the coastline, there's a small tributary from up in the mountains that trickles down into here. Cross over without much worry. You do get a little bit wet. And a little bit past that, there's a fellow who is out in a boat, not too far from the shore, within yelling distance that you can see.
Suri slows her steps and she kind of comes to a halt looking at him from a distance.
Erasmus will stop too.
She says, or she kind of whispers, I don't know who that could be.
Is there any particular reason why we would need to hail this man? Would it be faster if we took his boat to get to the town, or should we just continue on our way and leave him be?
It could well be faster. You basically get to cut the circle instead of going around the edge.
Well, if you're willing to trust him, she's still whispering, if you're willing to trust him, he could probably take us there a little bit faster, but it might cost.
I don't trust anyone, but that doesn't mean people can't have their uses. It's up to you.
All right. Suri will look back at the boatman and just kind of start making her way towards him.
So he's out on the water right now.
Oh, crap. Right.
And as he is rowing, actually, he looks up, he sees the two of you, and he right now he's just looking. He doesn't seem to have any sort of vested interest.
Suri will do a little bird whistle, and kind of wait for him to come over.
Is this a persuasion check or not?
It's a great question.
I think anywhere else it would be just sort of like, hey, over here, but on Innistrad, some random people on the shore hailing you, I think that's definitely we are trying to persuade this guy to actually come to shore for us.
I'm ruling as an insight check on his part, just seeing is this trustworthy or is this bad? So, as he hears this, he's going to stand up in his boat and he's going to say, "Who are ya?"
I'm from around here. We're just looking to get safe passage over to Llamas.
Oh, going to Llamas, eh? You heard of the Inquisition that's going on?
I haven't. Suri looks over at Erasmus with a more concerned face.
He just sort of raises an eyebrow questioningly at the man, in the man's direction.
And he sits back down in the boat and he's starting to row towards the shore. Doesn't get all the way up to it. He's closer than yelling range. You can probably have just a normal conversation at this point. If you wanted to go out to his boat, he might be able to escape if he needed to. A little bit less than a yell. He says, "Aye, the Lunarks, they're in Llamas as we speak, trying to stave off the anger of the angels."
So Erasmus has been to Innistrad a couple of times. Would he be aware that the Lunark is someone he should be worried about?
considering that Erasmus loves information, being a member of House Demir, he would likely know who the big organizations are and know that the Lunarchs are part of the Church of Addison. And you would likely have used your Ring of Disguise previous to seeing this man and getting his attention to just look like a normal human.
I don't think he was very worried about this, but I guess, no, he probably would. Yeah, you're right. Because he does look pretty...
Yeah, vampires are pretty apparent.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think he tweaked the ring and changed his appearance just enough that he looks the same, but not with pale skin and not with veins. Like, just very minor tweaks to his appearance. Probably in an attempt to make sure Suri doesn't notice what he's doing.
So, here comes my next question. Are you with the angels? Are you with the people?
Oh, we're always with the people.
And he takes a little bit of a grin at that and nods his head. Now, don't be asking no questions, mind. And you can see that in the bottom of this boat that there is a young girl bound hand and foot.
Oh my.
I am insight checking this man immediately. What is going on here?
That's only a little bit suspicious.
That's an 18 insight. Figure out what is the situation. What is this guy doing?
Suri, are you also doing an insight check or?
Definitely, yeah.
A 21.
Ooh.
So, Erasmus, you're aware of the big organizations here, and based off of this limited conversation that you've had with this man, you can tell that he's afraid of something. As to what the particulars are, you don't know.
Okay.
But Suri, you are a native. You know this area better than most. You've heard of small communities near lakes, one of whom in the mid-range, actually, there's a little mountain valley that was tucked away that you heard rumors of a gigantic frog that started eating the entirety of the town's folk, and that after a particularly rough winter, that there was only one survivor who made it out. You've also heard rumors of these large Leviathan creatures out in the province of Nephalia. And your guess is that this man, as crazy as he is trying to appease some sort of creature in this lake.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my. Oh god.
Oh no.
If I observe the girl that's bound, is she awake? Is she knocked out? Like, what state is she in?
She is currently knocked out, gagged, and you can see that there is a small trickle of blood that's coming down the side of her head.
She's definitely human though, right? Can I tell that?
Yes. Little girl is in the boat. She's got this trickle of blood, and you've been asked to say no questions.
How old does she look?
Oh, preteen.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Erasmus is just going to look down at the girl, over at Suri, and then up at the man, and nod.
And he nods back and has you both sit down and starts rowing you guys over out into the lake.
How are we situated in this boat? Like, where is he compared to where we are and the girl is?
So the little girl, she's up in the very bow of the boat, right where the point meets in. The man is in the rowing area, and you two are seated more towards the rear, the stern.
Does he have his back to us or the back to the girl?
He has his back to the girl.
Okay. That was smart.
And he looks at the two of you. I can see the questions in your eyes. Thank you for your discretion.
Erasmus is just going to smile at him in response. But like that kind of like chilling smile of it would creep him out, probably.
Suri is probably gazing off out over the water, not even paying attention.
Erasmus takes a mental note of this.
So in looking out, the water seems pretty calm, and there's something. It's not at the surface, but there's something out there.
Hello everyone, this is Editor Skyler, popping in, like I said earlier, to explain something that you have just missed. Hope you guys have been enjoying the episode so far, by the way. So, with Suri's passive perception, like Jen said, she has noticed that there is something in the water. Something is moving around. She can't quite tell what, but there's something there. And given her experiences on Innistrad, she knows that there are certain communities, or she's heard stories about communities close to the coastline or by lakes such as this one, who worship or serve or fear or have died to horrific entities that reside within the ocean or lake, respectively. And so she's a little worried that there is such an entity in this lake, and that is what she saw moving around. She also noticed something odd about the man that is rowing the boat. There's something about his neck, something on his neck that is weird, but because of the way his collar was popped up, she can't actually see completely what it is. So she knows something might be off, but she's not aware of what. And that's where we will resume. So with my passive insight of 14, would I have picked up that Suri noticed something?
Yes, and the two of you exchange a worried glance.
Okay. How close are we to shore?
If you needed to swim, you might be able to make it.
Okay. I don't plan on swimming, though. I'm going to level my gaze at the man, and I'm going to say, so questions are kind of my thing. I like to understand the world around me, and I like to know things. Since you've brought me most of the way, I'm going to take back our deal, and I'm going to start asking the questions, and you're going to answer them if you're interested in keeping that head of yours intact. Now tell me, what are you doing with this girl?
There's something here. And he pulls down the side of his coat, and you can see that there's a large gill flap on it.
Oh
It's given me sight. I need to let it feed. So, what say we let me keep my head and I don't feed you to it?
I'm gonna look at Suri, like just that like slow knowing look of like, I'm gonna look back at him, smile, and rub my ring to drop the illusion with like full bared smile. And I'm gonna say, I don't think you're gonna do that.
An intimidation check with advantage because the people of Innistrad are very much afraid of vampires.
Okay. I got a natural 20.
What does that make your total?
That makes my total 25.
Oh, wow. Suri, it's a little bit hard to not notice when the person who is rowing the boat fully leaps out of it.
Can I tell that he's going to try and do that? Because if I can, I'm going to try and stop him.
I want you to roll... I want to have this be another insight. Yeah, this will be another insight check.
Okay. 22.
You do recognize that he is about to jump out of the boat because as the guise drops, you just holding your hands ever so slightly together, twist the ring, drop the guise of a human, and you're already leaning forward, fangs bared.
And as soon as I see him going to jump, I'm going to like lash out and grab him.
Okay, I need you to roll athletics.
Okay. What is my athletics? Not great. Oh. I crit failed.
So,
Universe humbled me.
you're leaning forward. You recognize he's about to jump, and the strangest thing happens. This person, it almost seems like they drop some sort of guise, and they almost seem more fish-like. And this throws you off guard as they leap from the boat, jump into the water, and slowly their clothes float back up to the surface, but they're not in them, and they're not coming back.
Okay, Erasmus is going to quickly twist the ring again to put back his human disguise, and then he's going to hop into the rowing position and start rowing us towards shore and say, all right, Suri, keep an eye out. I have a feeling he should not have gone away. And I'm going to just try and row us as quickly as I can towards shore.
All right. Suri, do you have anything to say to that?
Just making sure, like, yeah, she definitely saw his teeth and everything, right? Suri knows for
Yeah.
sure. Okay.
Well, I don't know much about vampires, but you seem kind enough.
Was that Suri that says that?
Basically, I think that was the in-character voice.
Oh. Sweet.
Yes.
So as you are rowing towards the shore, there's a slight wobble in the boat, and Erasmus, looking behind you, you can see that this little girl she's awake and she is terrified.
Suri will try to do her best to calm her down.
Do you have like a belt knife, something other than Elbrus?
I believe I do. Either that or I used a crossbow bolt in the first episode. Would that also work?
It would take a little bit, but you could do it.
We'll go with that.
Erasmus is actually going to pull a dagger out of his belt and hand it to Suri and say, get her out of those
that's
bounds.
much more
She
efficient.
might need to swim.
Suri will grab the dagger and...
All right, short recap, real quick. All you missed here is that Suri approaches the young girl, offers to cut her binds off, and is telling the little girl, it's okay, you're safe now, we're not going to hurt you, we're going to help you. And she gets all of the girl's bindings cut off, so the girl is free, and she says,
Where am I?
You're near Lamas. We're out on the lake. Do you remember what happened to you?
She is breathing quite hard, and she proceeds to explain that she is one of the Bitter Hearts. They're a clan of witches that are kind of all over Innistrad. They really do seem to like less populated areas, though. She says that she was out playing, and she ended up feeling like she got hit by something, and the next thing that she knows, she was here.
Do you know where you came from? Are you from Lamas?
No, my coven. They're outside of Lamas.
Your coven?
Yes, the Bitter Hearts. And you would know the Bitter Hearts as a coven of witches.
All right. Suri's a little bit taken aback by this. Like, oh.
Oh, they're not bad. When you were part of a coven, where you ended up getting your warlock powers, you were in a different organization. But you've heard of the Bitter Hearts. They're not bad people per se.
Gotcha. Okay. And then Suri turns to Erasmus and says, "We need to help her. The bitter hearts aren't bad."
that was the plan. How far are we from shore at this point?
I actually want you to make an athletics check for that.
Okay. 13.
It seems like you're actually making very good progress. And high or low?
Hi.
Out in the middle of the lake, north of where you're at and much to the west, you can see that there is indeed a creature out there, because you look around and lower it back down. And over the next several minutes, almost an hour, it's very tense, as it almost feels like it's a race to get back to the shore.
Okay.
But you end up making it back to a dock, and just past the dock, you can see that there is a road that looks like it will lead towards Lamas.
Sure that we all get out of the boat and away from shore as quickly as possible, making sure we keep the girl safe.
And as you are on the shore saying, get out, and this little girl says, I have a name. I am Arabelle. She has a little bit of spunk to her.
Noted. Looking out at the water as we're getting onto shore and getting away from it, like, can I still see signs of the creature out there, or?
Go ahead and roll a perception check.
13 again?
Looking out, there doesn't appear to be any sign of the creature. Whether it followed you or not, you're not sure.
Okay. Are we, so like the dock that we pulled off at, did we get off at the dock or the shore? Are we in the town of Lamas, or are we outside it?
You are outside of it, but not by very much. It's probably half a mile, most.
I'm gonna pull a handkerchief out of my pocket and hand it to Annabelle. Say, you took
Annabelle.
Annabelle, you've got blood on your forehead. Clean it off with this, and then give me the rag back. And can you show us, like, we'll accompany you back to your coven.
And as you go to hand her, she says, "I've been learning magic." And she waves her hands in a pattern that, Suri, you've seen in other casters do. And as she finishes this gesture, the blood on her head fully just disappears. It appears to be a casting of prestidigitation. See? I'm going to be a fantastic witch.
Erasmus's face kind of hardens, like it's not what he wanted to have happen, but he just silently tucks the handkerchief back in his pocket and doesn't say a word.
Suri says, "Yes, you are going to be a fantastic witch," and smiles.
Suri, it's really interesting because this little girl reminds you quite a bit of you when you were younger. The independence, the sense of adventure, because you were not much older than her when you ended up losing the only family you knew, and have originally found the dagger on your father's corpse.
Right. Oh.
So cute, and at the same time so very different than what is written in the book.
Nice.
I like her.
So going back towards Lammas, at some point Arabelle looks at the two of you and says, "I don't want to go in through the town. They do not like us."
Yeah, and Suri says, "What? And we heard that there's some controversy going between the people and angels."
As you say this, she looks at you and says, "Between people and the angels, I've heard a little bit, but not a lot. We don't talk to people of the church very much. We trust in our own wards and in our own power."
Are we walking as we're having this conversation, or are we?
Yes.
Okay. Erasmus won't say anything. He won't add anything to the conversation.
Yes, my grandmother, she is very powerful. She is a very powerful witch.
Oh.
Madame Eva, she's in a different camp, but hopefully we get to see her soon. I like Grandma Eva.
Maybe Grandma Eva could even teach me a thing or two.
Oh, she absolutely could.
As she's saying that,
just rolls his eyes.
Do you like to read, Annabelle?
There are not very many books, but I really do like to read.
She says here, and she pulls the biblical text from her bag and hands it to Annabelle and says, "You can borrow this, but I need it back from you. I borrowed it from someone else."
And as you hand the book down to Arabelle, she looks at it and she says, This is Church of Avacyn scripture. This is not something I would normally read."
It's not something I would normally read either.
Oh, but you have been?
Yeah, it brought me a little bit of comfort, just because it reminded me of home at a certain time a bit ago.
Were you far from home?
Very far. Very, very far.
As far as Nephalia?
It's Nephalia on Innistrad, right?
Nephalia is a province of Innistrad. It's one of the further ones. There are certain parts of it that are much further than others. But you would know that Ravnik is a great deal further.
Yeah. Yeah. Far past the reaches of Nefaria.
So you have been across the ocean?
Well, yes, we'll go with that.
And she gets very excited at this and starts asking questions about what is beyond. And one of the questions that she asks is, are there angels beyond there? Do they also organize in flights? Or oh, sorry, I shouldn't be asking so many questions, should I?
It's always great to seek more knowledge.
Knowledge is power, and questions are how you get knowledge.
You are very interesting. You... She points at Suri. You seem to be someone like me. But you, and she points at Erasmus, you don't seem to be.
That's true. You and I are very different.
And it's at about this point that you get to Llamas, and Annabelle looks at the two of you. I keep flip-flopping between Annabelle and Arabelle, and it's sticking with Annabelle.
Okay.
And Annabelle looks at the two of you and says, I think that the campsite is to the south of town. And she starts going around the eastern side, trying to avoid getting into the town itself.
Do you know the direction to get there, Annabelle?
Yes.
Well, by all means, lead the way.
And she leads you around the eastern side, and there's another road that leads out from the east of Llamas, and it is the old Somberwald Road. And she says, I think Grandma Eva is back that way. Mama said that Grandma Eva is coming from the old Somberwald.
Well, as long as we can get you back with your family.
Mama and Papa should be with the others this way. And she continues leading to the south.
We continue to follow.
And as she leads you towards the south, she starts asking, so where are your families?
Suri just kind of is a little bit put aback by that question and kind of just like clutches onto her bag, not really inside of it, but like the side of it.
Eventually, Annabelle leads you there's a small hill to the south of Llamas that has a series of wagons around it. And you get in, they set down a camp, and you can see that there are two people that come. They grab Annabelle into their arms. You can see that this is her parents. They look at the two of you and say, what can we do to help you out? You brought back our little girl safe.
Oh, I think we could both use some food and some rest.
Please share our fire and all that we have.
We'll remain quiet, observing the people, kind of trying to get a feel for what manner of people are they, and can he discern any way that they might be able to help with his mission of finding this whole group and delivering the information he needs to.
Yes, so go ahead, roll an insight check. There's been a lot of insight this session, hasn't there?
Yes. Oh, natural 20 for 24.
So you can tell the Bitterheart Witches, this particular group, they seem to have some level of spell casting. And based off of what you and Annabelle were talking about as you were coming in, it sounds like there's an even more powerful caster in the form of Grandma Eva.
Okay. Through listening to conversations, especially between Annabelle and her parents, can I glean where this Grandma Eva might be? Is she here? Is she going to meet them?
It sounds like Grandma Eva was on her way here, and that she was traveling along the old Somberwald Road. Last they heard, they were coming towards or just barely past the town of Shadowgrange, a little bit east of here.
Do they have any animals or livestock?
Not much in the way of livestock. And as you start listening in further, you hear just bare rumors that in the town of Shadowgrange, there are two outsiders. They definitely don't seem like they are from Stencia. And as to how they have this information, it's never really revealed.
Okay.
Can we ask about that?
Yeah, you can do that.
Two outsiders not from around Stencia?
Oh, yes. As to how we know, I don't believe I can tell you. However, there were a pair of outsiders that...
So right here, the Bitterhearts reveal to Suri and Erasmus that this pair of outsiders that they were talking about apparently ran into Streffen Mauer on the road, and he expressed a concerning level of interest in the two of them.
Severin Mauer?
Streffen Mauer. He is a vampire that rules over this area.
Erasmus raises an eyebrow at that. Has he heard of Streffen Mauer in his times that he's come to Innistrad?
I don't think that Erasmus has ever been to the Outland Valleys. He's primarily been in Nephalia and Gavany,
All right,
where kind of the main hubs of activity are.
gotcha. These strangers, was one rather short with a beard and the other a taller, older man?
No, we don't. However, I am aware that they were making their way to Shadowgrange.
And when Erasmus says that, Suri kind of jolts her head at him, like a little bit quizzically.
He doesn't respond to Suri's look.
And Suri will say, have there been people disappearing from your village? Like, we found poor Annabelle in a boat about to be... who even knows what could have happened to her, that she was knocked out and tied up at the hands of is it a merfolk or what is it?
It seemed like it was human, at least to start.
Some human with gills on their neck.
And Annabelle, she glares daggers at you and says, I would have handled it.
Oh, right, yeah. It's really easy to cast spells when your hands are bound and your mouth is gagged. I'm sure you could have come up with something.
And her parents look down at Annabelle, and they look back at you and they say, we are so sorry for our daughter's impudence.
He just sort of waves a hand like, it's fine. Youth will be youth.
It's a mid-afternoon meal, but they do say if you wanted to go to Shadowgrange, just follow the old Somberwald Road, and you should be there by nightfall.
Sounds like a plan to me. What do you think, Suri? You want to hang with these people for a little bit longer, or do you think we should head out?
Do we need to take a long rest, or is that not necessary?
I mean, it's not a requirement. It's always up to you guys.
I think I can make it to Shadowgrange, if it's as close as they say.
All right. Yeah, we can probably make it. I kind of... Suri wants to ask, was she talking to the grandma just now, or...
You were talking to some members of the family, but it doesn't seem like it was Grandma Ava. It seems like Grandma Ava is on her way to meet with this particular group.
Okay. So she'll ask, do you know how long it might take Grandma Ava to arrive here?
Oh, considering the speed of wagons, probably a couple days more, unless they've decided to camp out elsewhere.
Okay, well, I may try to make my way back here for when she comes in, because I'm very intrigued by her craft.
Okay, so you express interest in coming back to visit with Grandma Ava, or Madame Ava as she's more commonly known, and they are willing to welcome you back. And it's interesting because there's some parallels there for when you first joined in with the coven, that sense of camaraderie and of family in trying times.
Yes.
And you can't help but think back to your first coven. You can't help but think back to Lucina Graciano and joining a coven in the near heath of Gavany. And the Bitterhearts seem to find a similar level of community to that group that was ultimately eradicated by the Cathars. And so, going out of the camp, you say your farewells, get onto the old Somberwald Road, and eventually head to the town of Shadowgrange.
As they're walking, Erasmus is going to be thinking about everything that's happened, about how hurt he is. He feels pretty confident that the group as a whole has been located, or he's aware of their location. He wants to return home, but before he does, as they're walking, he's going to speak up to Suri. I think you have sufficiently earned the information that I have. So I'm from Ravnica. The night that you and your group were to deliver Krenko to the Guildpact. I was among the group who left you that message. You have really stirred up the pot there in Ravnica. You and your friends are currently wanted for the murder of Nassius Ven. Bartholomew's house is under heavy surveillance, so I don't think you're going to want to return there.
Wanted for the murder? And they sent you to find us?
An informant of mine delivered this information, and I felt it prudent to deliver it to you. I will also say that if you should return to Ravnica, there is a guildless citizen who is willing to help you, named Vincenzo Sirac. And I'm going to hand her a piece of paper that has his address. If you guys would like his help, then you can find him at this address.
He's just kind of shocked at all this information and looking at the note. And she's like, do they even know you're a vampire?
That information is not something that I like to share often. So I advise you to keep that a secret between the two of us. I'll know if you tell.
Suri takes an exasperated sigh and just says, Thank you for not killing me. I'm glad it didn't have to get violent.
Well, it did, but thank you for holding back and not killing me.
And Suri's just a little bit confused by this because he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Seems that you have a lot to learn about what you're capable of. But I must be going. I bid you adieu. Good luck finding the rest of your group. Please relay this information to them, and perhaps our paths will cross again.
Suri just looks at the note with the address again and says, thanks, farewell. Be safe in your travels.
He nods, and he'll turn and walk into the tree line, and he'll walk around a tree, but he never comes back out the other side as he planeswalks back to Ravnica.
Suri, you continue on through the rest of the forest, along the old somber walled road, passing a couple of graveyards, a couple splits off in the trail, thinking about all of this information, just like our crowd is about to do as we leave off. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Fireside Dice. This podcast is produced by Realms of Roleplaying, and all music used in this program was created by Alexander Nakarada of Serpent Sound Studios. We'll see you all in the next episode.